Welcome to the Boxing Now podcast. I am your host, that dude named Dave. And sitting to my left, but he is my right-hand man, Jorge. How's it going?
Doing great. Just coming off a vacation over the weekend and missed a lot of boxing news that came out over the weekend.
Man, we're going to talk about that, about how one of us should go on vacation every weekend.
Exactly, guaranteed.
Man, but before we get started here, let's do this as we do every single time, or every episode here. Click like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube, for the full episodes, and even the clips that we're putting together here. So like I said, YouTube, like, subscribe, bell notification, Boxing Now podcast. Also, we're on all audio podcasts. Ooh, tongue twister there, Jorge. But we're on Apple and Spotify, as well as every other podcast stream there. So, we everywhere. That started last week. And also, shout out to our partner, our affiliate, Spanglish Sports World, channel 250 on the Zingo app. Going forward now, not only you can catch us in all those formats, people, we're going to be on there 10 o'clock p.m. Monday through Sunday. So if you want to go through a random show, an audio podcast on Apple or Spotify, you want to go on YouTube, or if you're on the Zingo app, we're everywhere. So we're young in our infancy, but you can catch us. Ain't that cool, Jorge?
It's great to be seen and found on all platforms you wish to desire to watch us in.
Yeah, man. So what we're talking about today is Oscar De La Hoya, probably, or a little bit of Thriller, or a little bit of Manny Pacquiao, or maybe a little Terence Crawford. It's just so much boxing that happened, news, when you on vacation, Jorge.
I go out for 3 days, folks. Just 3 days, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and all this news comes in. I actually had to have a conversation with this man at the airport on the way back because there was so much coverage. I'm like, I gotta have a conversation. I gotta talk about this stuff.
Yeah, you hit me up on a Sunday, and I was like, yo, ain't you supposed to be gone? You're like, no, I'm at the airport, man. And so we started talking, and so much boxing has occurred this week. Oh my God. Like, I could not wait till you got over here so we can start talking about it here. So let's get into the nuts and bolts, Jorge. First things first here. Let me do it. It's not official yet. We could possibly be seeing Manny Pacquiao against Terence Crawford. Oh my Lord, Jorge. Remember, I had originally talked in the early episodes when we first started how the negotiations between Spence and Crawford, and how Manny, had the WBO belt, and if Crawford would have beat him, you had the 2 belts, and then Spence had the 2 belts, so we could have this 50-50 negotiating and be none of these problems, because we were talking in the last episodes how Spence 60-40 or 70-30, and Crawford saying he was done with everything because he couldn't get a 50-50 fight. And so we're looking at the situation like, man, we may not even see Spence and Crawford once again, but we know how boxing can be. And then out of left field, I'm going through the social media diatribe. And then what happens? Man, we're seeing that Bob Arum had requested June 5th at the pay-per-view date, and Manny Pacquiao's that guy. So, Jorge, you had some strong words about about Manny Pacquiao, saying that you might need to retire. Remember that?
I got some strong words about myself too, though.
Oh, I know I put you. I know I hate to do that, but you did say that. But the fight could be here now.
Yep. Living
legend Manny Pacquiao against one of the best welterweights in the world, one of the best fighters in the world, in Terence Crawford. What do you think if Aaron was able to get this deal done and make the announcement next week, is what they're saying?
Well, I think he's got the date. He's got a venue. Well, he's got a location in Abu Dhabi. That's what's been reported on. The date I like, the location I like, because the money was there, and which was the reason why the fight ended up working out in the first place, right? In our pre-meeting, we've talked about that. That was essentially where the dividing line was, right? What was holding up that potential fight and stuff. So, and we talked about that in our previous episodes and stuff, why that fight wasn't coming up there. So now the fight's there, the money's hopefully there, and we have a date. So now it's just a matter of getting him to agree on the purse and get that fight scheduled and ready to go. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. That definitely made waves. That caught my attention when you mentioned it, and I'm actually really just want to get to the point where let's get all the things, the logistics taken care of, and let's get that fight going. I can't wait.
Yeah. there's been a lot of stuff going on social media. Was going back and forth talking about it. Terence Crawford was saying a lot of stuff. He was in his bag. He was extra emotional. Like
he was in his feelings, my
man.
friend.
He was in his feels. He was extra jelly. Whatever was going on with no jam. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
He literally went on a litany Twitter tirade. We're recording this on a Wednesday. I think it was Monday.
Mhm.
He was just going down this rabbit hole of like, first they said I need to get a belt. I got a belt. I still can't get the fight. They said I need to fight somebody. I'm fighting people. I still can't get it. I call these guys at 140 and I can't get these guys, So and then he's like, don't ask me about Spence stuff. The fight is over. I'm not going that route. He was really feeling himself. I can understand too. Like, here's a guy that he wants his respect. He isn't welterweight. And there's another guy who's got the claim to be number one. And these guys are competitive. They want to be able to say that they're the top guy, So when you can't get the fight and then there's so much back and forth, rumors, things of that nature, hey, guys getting their back and they feel a certain type of way. So the proposed date is June 5th on pay-per-view. And we talked to Jorge, man, the summers line up for boxing. Like, we talked about May being a hot month. And now we're going to look into June with these dates being lined up here. And it's like, this is going to be a hot boxing summer.
Yeah, no, not just that. I mean, it's already picking up in April with some of the smaller fighters, though. With there's some guys there we can take a look at and talk about them when we get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But May's looks lining up. We've covered May now, probably the last couple episodes now. May's lined up perfectly fine. June is starting to fill in just nicely. July's just starting to. They start available Saturdays for the summer are becoming less and less available. They're getting picked up for a lot of different fights, a couple different exhibition fights that we'll get into. So it's going to be a hot summer, a busy summer, a busy pay-per-view summer.
Mm-hmm.
We just got to see what the pricing looks like for some of these fights and stuff to see, hey, do we have enough to afford watching all these fights? I think in our case, we end up probably having to do it because it's our job to cover them,
You know what? There's going to be people who are going to be very, very upset at the fact that there's all these pay-per-views and how you're going to pay for them. Like, we know the Thriller pay-per-view is going to be $49.95. They set a standard they're not going to be overpriced like that. But boxing, we can believe that's going to be like $74.95 for a pay-per-view, especially with Manny Pacquiao involved. Yep. And like I said, Abu Dhabi was the main factor right now because the money's in the Middle East right now. We can't have people in the stands here right now. We're still having massive COVID rates. So most states still are not having people in the arenas. So we got to, people that got to go to other countries where they're more relaxed or don't even have the cases right now of a major pandemic actually happening across the world there. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's so much to unpack here, Jorge, because this came out of left field, literally. Like, when we're talking how we mentioned now Sean Porter, right? Yep. We talked about Manny Pacquiao, but we didn't think that's going to happen because the fact that Manny Pacquiao was looking for a minimum of $20 million,
sure,
at least. And I can understand that Manny Pacquiao is a living legend. He's made gangs of money. I mean, man, the fight of Floyd Mayweather, he made a minimum of $80 million. I think at the end he made like $150 million. Yep. So of course, in your head, you're like, yo, I need this $20 million. And for years, we talked about how the Crawford fight couldn't happen because the money wasn't there. Now the money is there now. So I want to ask you a question here.
Sure.
Do you think that Manny has any magic left?
Manny has some magic left. Does he have 2008, 2009 magic? Probably not. Does he? But I would assume he has some magic left there, just basing it off of his performances against Joe Horn and Bradley and Thurman. So I think there's definitely plenty in the tank, but I don't think he has the same stuff that he had back in his prime when it really mattered, right? When he was moving up the weight divisions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he has enough to make this a competitive fight. I don't know if he has enough to knock out Crawford, because I think Crawford's defense and his dynamic fighting ability to basically switch stances will make it easy enough. And look, and Manny's still fast, but he's never going to show up as fast as he did before.
Mm-hmm.
So he assume he's taken a step off on the power department. He's definitely taking a step off in the speed department. So with that said, I still think it ends up being a competitive fight. I still think Crawford comes out winning on that fight, but it'll be a fun fight to watch and it'll be very competitive. And I'm looking to see where, how Pac-Man fights somebody like Crawford, who's lengthy and younger than him and can probably match him step for step on everything I've mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, good analysis there. One of the things about Manny Pacquiao is that, like I said, he does have something in the tank. Even though he hasn't fought close to 2 years, his last two fights when he came over to the PBC, He gave Adrian Broner a lesson, gave him a nice little lesson. Then after that, he beat an undefeated Keith Thurman. What I know, I've had my personal opinions about him, but at the end of the day, Keith Thurman is a damn good fighter. He was undefeated, welterweight champion. And for Manny Pacquiao, I think he was 41 at that time, to go in, get a knockdown, knock him down, I believe, in the first round. And it's not one of those wins where it was not controversial. You say go into it. No, it was a good, hard fight that Pacquiao clearly won. So he's been out for 2 years, but Pacquiao is showing that it doesn't matter how old you are. He still got that juice. The problem, though, with Manny is, though, that he takes the foot off the gas. The knockouts hasn't come really in a long time. And even Freddie Roach has talked about it, how, since he's made the full conversion to Christianity, he doesn't have that killer pop anymore. He goes into a certain point and then he takes his foot off the gas when he knows he got it, So as far as knockouts concerned, I don't see him knocking out Terence Crawford. Crawford has a freaking jaw. We've seen Crawford in matches. I don't know if the guys who were hitting him didn't have any pop, but I've seen shots where he got hit clear flush on the jaw. He smiled and nodded his head and he's like, yeah, he's one of them boxers who you just can't land one clean shot and you're going to get him. It's got to be accumulation, because we've never seen Crawford really hurt. And also I want to add too, Jorge, you've had your issues, not issues, you had some questions about Crawford at welterweight. This fight,
all of it.
I'm going to say it doesn't, to a degree. Know why? I say for me, I think Crawford is a great fighter, and he's not going to get his just due, not from me and not from you, but from other people who are haters. Because I can see the excuses already right now, right? He beats Manny. He has to be so dominant to get his just due, because where Manny's at right now. He ain't fought in 2 years. He's 43 years old. So you're going to see some people say, you beat a 43-year-old Pacquiao and you're probably pound for pound because ESPN's been pumping you up for all these years. You should have destroyed Pacquiao. Matter of fact, if you look at the interviews, Arum didn't want Pacquiao to fight him because he thought you can get killed by him. So there's going to be built-in excuses for the Terence Crawford haters, that he's not going to get his just due. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to be that one, but I just want to point that out, because there's going to be people out there who will do that, even if he is dominant.
I think he won't get his just due regardless. Now, there's two different angles you can point into that, right?
Okay.
If he doesn't knock him out right away and stuff, he's going to get criticized for not being able to knock out an older fighter who's quote unquote long in the tooth now and stuff in the boxing game and stuff. So he won't get his just. He won't get any credit for that either. And if he knocks him out early, you beat a 43-year supposed to happen. No matter what, he's not going to get his just due from any.
If it goes 12 rounds, it's like, yo, why you let this happen like this? And we never seen Crawford hurt. So as soon as let's say Manny clips him and gets hurt, the haters are going to come out and say, if you got hurt by Manny, imagine you're going to get hit by Spence, who's also a southpaw, who's bigger, stronger, and longer than him. And he's at welterweight, but we know that he's going to be a junior middleweight or middleweight anytime now. We look at Spence's future. So there's going to be haters going to say, yo, if Pacquiao hurts you, look what's going to happen when Spence gets a hold of you. Get some glove. So I'm not saying it's going to be me. I was thinking earlier that there's going to be so many people that's going to hate on the outcome if whatever Terence Crawford how it's going to come out for him if he's the victor.
And at the end of the day, you still have to look at this as COVID took a year away from a lot of these guys and stuff, right? I mean, we're basically getting a fight that probably could have happened if COVID wasn't here. It probably could have came up last year. It might even have happened this year, but it would have been earlier, right? Maybe like in January or something, or February. So my point is that he was never going to get it regardless. And COVID, it's easy to just bypass COVID and just say, it doesn't matter. They should be ready to fight anyways. No, at the end of the day, most of these guys during COVID season need a sparring partner to basically help with trying out something new, keeping some ring rust off, right? That wouldn't be in the ring and stuff, doing like a short 2-round, 3-round sparring match. The point is that you needed to get that rust off. And in some ways, Manny's probably going to come to this fight looking a little rusty. So I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 12 rounds. I wouldn't be surprised if he got knocked out, because again, he hasn't fought in 2 years. So Crawford's not going to get any credit for this. Unfortunately.
You know what though? I could see Crawford's a guy, he's going to go for the kill. He should go
for the kill.
Well, this is a fight he needs desperately. Let's backtrack here real fast. We were talking a few weeks ago how the back and forth between him and Errol Spence, and they were both at the Virgil Ortiz fight.
Yep.
And we heard Crawford say, I'm not talking about Spence no more. This fight's done, blah, 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 blah. He was in his feelings, whatever like that. This is the type of fight now that turns Spence and Crawford, if Crawford wins, a 50-50 fight. Now, hear me out here. I'm looking at Manny Pacquiao this could either be his last hurrah, or me being at my age and this fight pinpointed for me, this could be a Sugar Shane moment. I say the reason why I say this is a Sugar Shane moment.
Which Sugar Shane moment? Because there's a couple. Which
one
are we talking about? The Margaritos?
Yes.
That's what I'm figuring you're going with.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with here. Hear me out here for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. We looked at Sugar Shane Mosley in 2009 as a top 10 welterweight who was still very good, but on the downhill.
Yeah.
He had his peak when he beat Oscar twice.
He wasn't knocked down yet at that point.
Yeah, he had his peak when he beat Oscar twice, but he had the Balco scandal. You know, he unknowingly took HGH, human growth hormones, in the second Oscar fight. Then, of course, he had the, later on, he fought Cotto. Tough fight. We talked about that offline. You know how that was a damn good fight. People should check that out. Sugar Shane Mosley and Miguel Cotto.
That was a great fight. Action-packed, all 12 rounds. You'll enjoy it. You're not, again, two fighters that could not get knocked down for their life, but punches were thrown.
It was a good fight. And so we were looking at Shane as a good fighter, but on the downhill. And then Margarito had just destroyed Cotto with the loaded gloves.
Yep.
We know we don't have proof on that, but
it's enough to convince me.
Exactly. So Mosley got the fight, and if you look at the HBO telecast, it was this fanfare for Margarito. Here he is finally getting his just due, got the belt. He's the welterweight who beat Cotto. He was going to be the man, blah, blah, blah. He was setting up for the post-Floyd era. Who's going to take the mantle? We thought it was going to be Cotto. Cotto got wiped out. We know Manny's there because this fight's going to happen. And what did Shane do? Going through all the problems he had. His wife was going through divorce with him and took the belt and money and everything that he had. He was going through drama. And what happened? We talked about his trainer, brother Nassim Richardson. Great man. He gave Shane the perfect game plan: swim without getting wet. Exactly. And we talked about caught the loaded gloves and gave him the beating of a lifetime and stopped him, I believe, in the 9th or 10th round, Margarito. And that was, if you look at Shane's career, he's had highs and lows. That was his last great moment, where that he became the welterweight champion again. He beat a guy that no one think he could beat, and that landed him the Floyd fight right after that. So when I say this could be a Shane moment, I'm saying that I'm not going to compare the two as far as Manny Pacquiao is a greater fighter than Shane Mosley, but we're looking at someone who's still a great fighter, on the downhill, 43. Because come on, man, how many fighters are great at 43? Yep. And does he have his Sugar Shane moment where here's a guy who Terence Crawford, who's a world beater, is a monster, also a 3-division champion. Can he beat this monster who is longer than him, taller than him, stronger than him? And if he does, that leads him right back to Al Haymon for a PBC spy with Errol Spence for the Floyd fight. You see, I'm using that correlation. I see
what you're saying there,
yeah. So for Manny, as great as he is, he's 43 years old, Jorge. So I'm using that you've seen a great fighter, and he's taking 2 years off, meaning because of COVID, and he's a senator in the Philippines, and he's getting ready. Hopefully, maybe one day he'll be president. And this could be the beatdown, or this could be leading to one more big fight, because with Manny's age in his career right now, is either this one or maybe one more fight after this one, and then he's going to exhibition round like everybody else.
Exactly. So I just he's not out of boxing.
I know it's a little long-winded there, but I just want you to hear that whole scenario for people who don't know about Shane Mosley and about that scenario. I brought that up because we thought Shane was done. We thought he was going to give Margarito a good fight. And what happened? He gave him a beat down. And people could be doing the same thing about Manny. We seen Manny gave Thurman a good fight and beat him. Could he do the same thing to Thurman, man? I mean, to Crawford.
So Mosley and that fight with Margarito, I want to say this about Shane Mosley, though. He wasn't the hero that we needed we asked for, but we got it at that moment. That man was a hero for boxing. As a boxing fan, he was a hero to me, because to me, he cleared up an injustice that needed to be corrected. Right? For Cotto got his revenge later on, but that was the one that needed to be exposed completely, and he did it both outside the ring and in the ring. So Shane's always gonna be my hero for that. Yeah, we needed that fight for Shane to win so that Cotto can get his retribution later. Because if Nassim Richardson does not catch those gloves, we don't know how long that Margarito is using loaded gloves after that point. Because he can take a punch. He known that he will take 2 or 3 to get one off. He was a guy who threw punches in volume, 100 punches around. So he was more of attrition, wear you down, kept coming forward. And eventually by the 6th, 7th round, when those gloves were hardened, and he's throwing 100 punches and those shots in the bicep, starts feeling it. Like when Canelo talked about how he was aiming for, what's his name's bicep, so that he couldn't throw it. Remember, he had that big old knot.
could you imagine if you have loaded gloves and you're doing that?
Yep.
And then you're not just loaded in the arms, you're going to the bicep, the chest, into the face, and Cotto was busted up. So Shane saved the day for so many lows down the line. Who's to say that if he doesn't get caught, that he fights Manny and Manny gets that ass whooping?
The way, again, Shane, he saved boxing. To me, he saved boxing that night because basically you took down somebody that was going to essentially ruin the sport. And Margarito, let's get it wrong. He would have ruined the sport because if he didn't get caught for this fight, he would have been caught for some other fights.
And let's just say here, just because he got caught is not that's not the first time you done it. It's the first time you got caught.
The first time he got caught, exactly. So at some point, say this had happened down the road, he would have been looked at for every prior fight before that, therefore ruining boxers and boxing along the way. Because at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, how the hell did this shit happen in the first place? How did he get away with all this? So Nazeem Richardson, big hero. Rest in peace, my friend. Shane, always my hero for coming in there with the right. No, he came in there with a chip in his shoulder, whatever was going on with his life at that point. And then on top of that, no, he came in there on a mission. And I will always love that man for doing what he did in that ring that day. So these are reason why we're still able to talk about boxing today the way we want to talk about boxing. So always a big up and thank you, Shane.
Yeah. So that's why I brought that analogy up.
So the circumstances, though, now we get to the actual comparison. Now I think the circumstances would be different because that circumstance for Shane was a lifesaver for the sport, where Pacquiao is basically doing it for his career. Now, if he's got dreams and he's able to motivate himself because of those dreams for another big fight, then that's your Sugar Shane Mosley from that part. I just don't think it would be the same. I think Mosley
had a lot.
Same was on this downward spiral,
right?
And basically, once you go down, you have to come up, and that was the come up for Shane.
I'm using a correlation because if Crawford has been doing what he's been doing the last 10 fights, he's knocked out like the last 10, 11 fighters. That's one thing that about Crawford. He's not just winning and getting 12-round decisions, and it's like he's doing a masterclass. He is winning by knockout. He is going through attrition, and he switched to southpaw. Maybe he goes to southpaw within 30 seconds the first round. He's like, no, I don't like orthodox. I'm gonna go this here, and I'm just gonna proceed to punish and hammer you until you're out of here. And so, knowing Crawford, he may have to go for the gusto on this one to do this the way it needs to be done. I was bringing up that scenario because if he loses to Crawford, Manny got nothing to prove now. He can retire. He's gonna get this big bag here if it happens. It gets announced next week. And if he gets beat by Crawford, there's no point in he even fighting Spence. They're both younger fighters. So if you lose this one, then the bag has to be that good to do the Spence fight.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I was using that correlation that being an older fighter, people are kind of counting him out, except for his home country in the Philippines. Shout out to my man Mikey. We were talking about this the other day. Mikey's representing for the Filipinos there in Fort Manny. So shout out to Mikey. We'll talk about this after the show here, Mike. So could it be Manny being done, or he gets this W, gets Crawford's belt, and then gets one more payday? Because there's one more payday for him is Spence if he wins. He loses, what does he got to fight for? Because it would be Mikey Garcia. We talked about that one, and I even said that's going to be an easy W for him. So at least he's still daring to be great at 43.
I think he's daring to be great with the right fighter. I think with Spence, it would have been a harder fight for him, right? So he's fighting the right fighter at the right time.
You calling Crawford the right fighter?
I think for him, if you had to compare between Crawford and Spence, look, I like both.
I say 1A and 1B. It's not even right. I'm saying you're in for a world of hurt.
But if you had to pick between the two, chances are you're going to go against a more heavier Spence at that point.
No, I'd rather have Crawford. Know why? Because Spence is naturally a southpaw. See, Crawford goes back and forth. If I got to go with a guy who's naturally a southpaw, that's a guy I don't really fight because one thing about Manny is you don't see many southpaws in boxing. Manny's also a southpaw, so you're not seeing many. So you're going to see
southpaw versus southpaw fight.
Yeah, so you're seeing consistently southpaw against southpaw. Crawford's going to go orthodox on you. Yeah. So I'm saying as far as like a fighting preference and looking at styles that you see often, as much as Manny's been fighting all these years, there's not many southpaw matches that he has. There's not many southpaws in general.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. In that instance, is like I would rather fight the guy who I know is going to be orthodox than the guy who knows is going to show me that same southpaw angle all the time. Because southpaw is, even when you're a southpaw, that is not a natural fight for you.
Exactly. So
that's why I'm saying.
So from a boxing point of view, that actually would make more sense from Manny's point of perspective. You'd rather fight the guy that's going to more often than none, 70% of the time, is going to fight orthodox, right? Something he's very familiar with, right? Mm-hmm. Look, again, to me, I think if you had fought Spence, it makes for a weird fight because you're right. We don't see southpaw versus southpaw. I think Spence comes in heavier after the weigh-in and stuff. We talked about that. Spence is
the bigger guy.
Spence is the bigger guy. That's not a diminished Crawford. It's just
it's just naturally he's because Crawford came from 135 and Spence has been his whole career at 147.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, he said before the accident that all his fights I've even mentioned that he was weighing anywhere from 180 to 190 recently until the accident where that he had the rehab and got himself in shape where he came in before camp at 160 something. So just naturally walking around at 180 pounds to a guy who's naturally starting off at 135 weight class. So we probably say that maybe on an off training session, Crawford's probably walking around like 160, 170 max if he's not taking care of himself. Maybe 160, I would say.
Yeah. So I mean, no disrespect to Crawford.
But I always see him in good shape. So I would never even think that he comes out of shape during his off fights like that.
Yeah, no disrespect to Crawford in this case. No. And in this case, 1A and 1B, but these 1A and 1Bs are different in dynamics and what their dimensions are and stuff. So that's a different conversation for those two, right? But when it comes to Manny and Crawford and stuff, you're right. I think Crawford should go for the gusto. I just don't think he will. I think he's going to spend at least a couple rounds trying to figure out what stance he's going to pick. That's been his MO for the most part. When he fought Gamboa, it was the same thing. He went at least 5 rounds.
I'm going to call that back. He don't take a few rounds now. The last 4 or 5 fights, he switches to southpaw within 30 to the minute and 30 of the first round.
Yeah,
but I'm saying he doesn't take rounds to figure out how. He literally says, "Okay, I'm gonna start off orthodox here," and then in the beginning, like I said with Gamboa, he took a little bit longer. Now he just he looks at you and is if you notice the last several fights by a minute and 30, he's already in southpaw. He don't wait the second round, third round. He says, "No, forget this. I'm giving you southpaw right now because I can see you can't handle southpaw."
I think for Pacquiao, I think he's going to take the Gamboa approach, and the only reason why because it's still Pac-Man. That's why. It's one thing if it's Kell Brook. This is Pacquiao. You still are going to try to spend, and in the case with Crawford being able to switch, he's going to at least attempt it once to figure out. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes through his whole training camp at least sparring with a southpaw, at least see what that looks like, and at least make a decision on how he would fight a southpaw. Because you're right, we're not going to see. You don't see southpaws versus southpaws, but in this fight with Crawford, he will see a moment. It will be a southpaw versus southpaw fight.
Yeah,
and
it will be.
And it will look a little awkward to the viewer if you're not used to it. So I would say I think Crawford spends at least a couple rounds switching to find out. And I think more often than none, he's going to end up staying orthodox. If he stays southpaw, he found something in his sparring or during the fight that makes him think that he got something there. If not, I would expect him to go orthodox for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, I agree with that as well, too. So I don't want to go too much on it because we're not across the finish line yet because Bob Arum requested the pay-per-view dates. So as soon as we get that cleared up and we know about that, and like I said, Abu Dhabi, once again, Middle East, that's where the money's at. We don't have people in the stands. So we literally, this is March 31st for recording this here. So by April 4th or 5th, hopefully we'll have some clarity on this. And if this happens, thank you.
Thank you, exactly.
Oh my God, because for Crawford, I don't know how long I can go on social media watching him go away. He's been going, man. He's been in his feelings. I can understand when you were looking for that fight so bad you can't get it and you're exhausting your avenues. So if it happens, hey people, May and June is sizzling.
Yeah, COVID's got a way of making everybody get into their feelings and stuff. So I understand Crawford. I can get that one.
Yeah. So I wanted to transition here. This is still in the same lines here for June 5th here. That pay-per-view is supposed to be tentative for here. That segues into Manny Pacquiao's old promoter, which is Terence Crawford's current promoter, Bob Arum.
Sure, top rank. So I'm laughing
right now.
This is gonna be a fun conversation. This part because we talked about it earlier, and this was fun then.
Okay, I sent you a voice note on the phone because I was looking at every single angle of the Crawford Manny Pacquiao fight off the rip. I was on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm looking everywhere, right? And one thing that I've noticed is that Teofimo Lopez next fight is on June 5th, tentatively. I'm going to keep repeating this here. I have an episode where I said Teofimo gets the bag. We do.
Episode 16 or 17, folks. Check one of those. It will highlight the headline. Teofimo gets the bag.
I might put that on here for when I do the editing of this show here, so you can
put it as reference.
Yeah, we're going to have that here. So I'm not going to go back on the backstory here because we got the episode. We talked about it in the last episode. So tentatively, though, Teofimo Lopez has his fight on June 5th. He went through the mandatory process. Bob Arum didn't want to pay the money for it. And then next, Thriller came out of left field. We talked about it and threw this astronomical number.
Astronomical by mandatory numbers.
Yeah, for a guy of Teofimo status who is a good fighter, but it's like, wow, right? So let me level set here, Jorge. The past week and a half, Teofimo Lopez and his dad has been saying a whole bunch of stuff. And here's the thing, it's boxing, right? So guys are going to talk to promote themselves. The louder, the better. They're being boisterous, and one thing about boxing, sometimes they say things that doesn't make any goddamn sense, right?
Put your foot in your mouth.
Put your foot in your mouth. Thank you, Jorge. So they were going out. One of the things that we're not fighting on pay-per-view anymore. This is Teofimo Lopez Sr. Bob Arum's got to show us the money. We are not doing pay-per-view. We're doing pay-per-view only. Like basically saying that since Thriller threw this bag at us and we're getting our biggest payday for our mandatory, Thriller is gonna do what they can do with Tyson and Roy Jones, that we're gonna be like Floyd Mayweather. We're gonna be like Manny Pacquiao. We're gonna be fighting only on pay-per-view. Bob Arum, do your goddamn job. Get us our money because we're worth it. They're talking big time here, right? I get it. You're getting what? $3 million for this fight, at least, it was $6 million, but because of the purse split, this is his biggest cut.
Sure.
Then his dad came out saying that they're fighting this fight, as far as trying to get their money and do right by them. It's the same thing as when Ali went through his problems in the 70s with the government and stuff like that. I'm going to say this here. STFU, shut the fuck up, Teofimo Lopez Sr. You do not compare your business aspect, what Ali was dealing with, when it comes to political actions for a black man who was dealing with crap like that. I understand trying to make an analogy. Don't make an analogy for business or someone who's going through racist problems, in this country from a black man. I get it. You're trying to blow your spot up, but shut the fuck up.
That's your PSA from David Jordan.
I don't curse that much. I try not to, but that threw me off. Don't compare yourself to any political or racist movement when it comes to business. That's anybody. Don't do that, because there's going to be people like me. It's like, you don't know what the hell is going through with that person to deal with that. If you compare a business situation where or someone has went through problems, that's a whole different ball game. Like Tyson just hindered himself, but you can use an analogy how Don King did bogus by him and tons of fighters. Find an analogy where Don King screwed over boxers. Like that instant. Do not bring race or politics into your business aspect for you getting your biggest payday.
So
I just have to say that before we get forward. But go ahead.
David's point, though, basically it's the same thing. It's the same rule in politics. I think you don't bring up the Holocaust in any way to some sort of issue. I think that's you're going overboard.
Don't bring slavery.
When it comes to boxing, you do the same thing.
Yeah,
there's certain things you don't bring up because there's always historical context that basically that precedes it basically, and you don't want, and it sets the precedent, and you don't want to essentially invoke those prior precedents from the sports perspective and bring that into your own business, because at the end of the day you sound foolish.
Yeah. So I wanted to say that to say, don't do that. Don't do it. Like you're gonna find people like me. It's like, nah. Because here's the thing. I know boxers, what they're trying to do. Boxers, they love their fans. When you meet them, they are so nice, and you can have conversations with them for hours and hours, right? And I understand by being in the boxing arena, you got to do things out of the ordinary to get yourself that appeal, that fanfare, that pop culture type of thing, like what Ryan Garcia is doing. He has the young appeal, being with the younger audience, things of that nature. But here's the thing, I say this too. Teofimo Lopez Sr. said that. Lopez Jr. co-signed it by allowing his dad to talk like that. Here's the thing here. Now, here's the thing. Whenever you have boxers who have trainer dads, what these fighters do is they let their dad be the mouthpiece. Let them do all the talking. Let them do all the stuff so that you can look like the good guy. That's just my dad. My dad's being my dad. But you know what, though? You give your dad the green light. So when situations like these happen, I'm not saying this one, we're not saying it, but it could have been his dad and his own feelings, and saying these things he's saying, right? But You're giving the green light, so we don't know if you actually feel this way or both of y'all feel this way. Either way, both of y'all saying this. So Teofimo, check your dad. Just like I say about Danny Garcia. When his dad was talking reckless, he had to check him too, because he was talking crazy mess too. So I just saying that, there's a way to promote yourself without being a damn idiot. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, either know your history before you say something. And look, if your dad's look, I'm close with my dad as well.
Yeah.
And
everybody knows how close I am with my pops.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, they're your best representative of who you are and stuff. They're also your PR team.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, don't say anything until you've run it by you, Junior. And
if it doesn't run it by you, I'm thinking that you're okay with that, because he gave his dad the green light to talk whenever he wants to talk. So if you give your dad the green light, it's two things. Yep. You're having your own little pillow talk of your pops, and you say, hey, Dad, I want you to say this because I can't say it, and everybody be cool if you saying it because it's just you. Or, hey, you just being you, Pops. Either way, you're cool with it. If you're cool with it, it's freaking wrong. I say that to say, this whole week and a half, the Lopez team has been talking grizzly, talking crazy. They even said that they don't need Top Rank anymore. They're ready to move on. They're going all this stuff here, right? And I bring this up to say, Jorge, because when Bob Arum we're close to the finish line with Manny Pacquiao, Terence Crawford, June 5th. Lopez, who, if you're going to do a pay-per-view on June 5th with Thriller, you are not now.
You're not winning. You're not winning that pay-per-view match. You can see Pac-Man, Crawford here, Lopez, and a mandatory. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm saying as a boxing fan, I'm not buying it. I probably end up buying it because I have to cover it. But if you think you're going to make that money that you think you're supposed to make at the back end, no.
I may not. Because we're covered. I may not buy it. What I would do probably, if you did the same thing, I'm watching Manny, Terence Crawford, and I will go on the dark web and find a bootleg stream on this one. I am not going to lie on this one. I will find the bootleg stream after the fact. I am not paying for this fight here if it's going to be in the same day. I brought this up, Jorge, because I was saying that it's a business move and Bob Arum being petty. And I know you originally said that I don't think it's him being petty, but from my standpoint, I was saying petty because we've been seeing Thriller and the Lopez team talking grizzly about Bob Arum, and then Thriller's like, we're doing June 5th, we're gonna have Justin Bieber performing, it's gonna be a big bonanza, we're gonna set this up because Jake Paul got his pay-per-view in April, so we're gonna blow this out. So Bob Arum probably in Top Rank's like, yo, man, this is one of our top guys. We've been promoting, we put millions in ESPN advertising. We didn't pay for the mandatory. He got paid. Cool. We got 800,000 out of it. Nice. So now you got your check, and now you want to talk all this mess here? You know what, though? Here's the thing. This was gambling. Everybody wins every now and then, but the house always wins. So you know what? Arum says, I'm taking June 5th. I'm taking this date now. So you know what, though? You're not going to be able to fight on June 5th. You got your money. Cool. Try to fight on June 12th or 19th. Oh, you can't. You know why? Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury pay-per-view is coming up. You might got to go to June 26th now. Oh, there's other fights coming up. You might have to fight in July possibly here. Now, because of Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford, your fight's going to get moved. That means that the schedule's going to get moved. You know what that means? That's another pay-per-view in the summertime, which means that there's going to be people who cannot buy every single pay-per-view like us. They can only afford one pay-per-view for a certain period of time. So you're losing pay-per-view buys, and your schedule's getting moved down the line now, and it's going to kill your schedule for the rest of the year. And Bob Arum is the house. He's been promoting for 70 years. You cannot go on this diatribe thinking that you're better than him and know the business better than him. You're going to win every once in a while. The house always wins in the end.
I actually take it a little bit different here, a different analogy. I look at if anybody who's watched high stakes poker, I'm a Texas Hold'em guy. I play that game mostly. Most of us who know poker know it through Texas Hold'em, but know it through Doyle Brunson. Anybody who's watched high stakes poker, any past shows and stuff, understands exactly what the hell he did. Bob Arum pulled off a Doyle Brunson. He went all in on a youngster, that youngster being Triller in this case, and said, okay, all right, I'm going all in here. $2 million. What you got on me now? You're going to fold that hand? If you're right, you're going to fold that hand. You don't know what the hell I got. Except in this case, you know what Arum's got. Pocket aces. Crawford and Pac-Man. And that's exactly what you're dealing with, Triller. Pocket aces.
And here's the thing, too. I didn't cut you off. Thriller doesn't have a beef with Top Rank, or Top Rank with Thriller. Even Arum said that, hey, exactly. They're going to enhance us. But the thing is, though, that Lopez and his dad pulled Thriller into some money drama that did not need to happen. Yep. You got paid. They put $6,018,000 on the purse bid. 2.1 on Top Rank and 3 million on Matchroom. Eddie Hearn, 3 million more than Matchroom. You got paid. Train, work with Thriller, get this money, promote the fight, boom, on to the next. You don't got to go on and saying, man, we don't need Bob Arum anymore.
That was the big mistake.
We don't need a promoter. We can do this on our own. We making money now. We're only fighting on pay-per-view. What's this? No, we ain't fighting regular ESPN now. Forget this mess. And you know what Bob Arum said? You got a contract with me. Okay. If you have the money to buy out your contract, we can negotiate that because Arum has buyouts on all his contracts. Yep. The biggest buyout that we've mentioned before, and there's a grandiose story that made Floyd Mayweather the way he was, because working with Al Heyman, then secured the $700,000 buyout. Most guys don't got 700 G's. That's why you link up Al Heyman. Yep. Al Heyman had deep pockets. I'm gonna represent you. You know, we'll put this money up, pay me back in installments. We're gonna get this bag together. I think if you look at Arum, he has every contract like that. 700,000 in 2005. Can you imagine? That's 16 years ago. You know the contract would look like for Lopez now in that same scenario when he's only 23 and Floyd was already with Top Rank for 2005, 9 years.
It was $700,000 a buyout. Then you imagine the buyout's got to be somewhere about $1 million.
And here's the thing too: Floyd was already with Top Rank for 9 years. So we're looking at a young Teofimo. I bet you it's a de-escalator. You know, as in the de-escalator as far as the buyout. Like, of course, if he got in like a couple of years ago, it probably like 2 million because you're putting so much into the fighter. They have the Skypes and per diems that they take care of them. So something's going on.
The length of his contract will make a difference.
Yeah, the length too.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. So depending on the length and the per diems when you're getting started, things of that nature.
Sure.
And then with Floyd, though, of course, like, he's this great fighter here. At this point, it's gonna be 700,000. I'm making this much money out of it. I bet, like I said, probably 1.1, 1.2 million easily.
I'd say the closer he gets to the end of that contract, it probably gets a little bit like you're saying. The escalators maybe around 900,000, 800,000 by that point, but right now it's an easy million.
Yeah, easily.
Easy million. So at the end of the day, why you would burn the bridge with a basically, and in some degree, boxing royalty still. Bob Arum's been in boxing for a long ass time.
He just, what is he, 89, 90? He just had a birthday.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're saying the wrong things and doing the wrong things. If you want to complain about Bob Arum for other things in terms of fights you're not getting, or
he skimmed your purse, like Don King stuff that we've known. Like,
exactly.
I didn't get. I looked at my contract and I got charged for freaking towels at the MGM Grand. Like, that's famous. $50,000 per towel. Mike Tyson was getting gypped out of his purses. Exactly. Don King skimming every little thing. That's the hotel's towels. You know what I'm saying? But you're young. Your team is young. You're 23. You're a new champion. Bob Arum has been doing this. We talk since the 60s and the 70s, before we were even thoughts, Jorge, before your mom and dad, my mom and dad even thought about us. Mm-hmm. Bob Arum was out here promoting fights with Ali, out here with George Foreman, out here with every major fighter from that era. You don't think that you're going to win. You got money. You came up on top with a big mandatory. Bob Arum is the fucking house.
Yeah.
So he has more than one fighter. Terence Crawford is above, even though his contract's coming up, he is above the ladder than you. He, as far as like, I got stable fighters who I've been promoting. ESPN put more money in Terence Crawford than they did Teofimo Lopez, even though there's a lot of millions in both of them.
Yep.
Who is going to win the battle? Manny Pacquiao or Lopez? No, you're not going to win a pay-per-view against Manny Pacquiao. So you talk all this mess, you put yourself on a pedestal, and now there's an opportunity. Oh, here's what I want to add too. You're saying you want to fight only on pay-per-view? That's not going to happen when this is going to go now. This pay-per-view is going to tank at this rank here because you can't stay on June 5th now. Pay-per-view model of the business says that normally you see no more than 2 pay-per-views. And normally that's allowed when you have like a UFC against a boxing. You see very little 2 boxing pay-per-views at the same time. You're not going to get 3. The pay-per-view industry gets 50% of all revenue from that off the rip. They're not going to kill their money by throwing a whole bunch of pay-per-views where people are not going to, if there's too many pay-per-views, people ain't going to order.
Yep.
It's like, I'll just wait on that. No, there's too many of them out there. So, like I said, June 5th is going to be out the door for him because Manny Pacquiao is going to do Terence Crawford. I say 600,000-700,000 pay-per-view buys at the minimum.
Yep.
Manny Pacquiao still has a name that can generate hundreds of thousands of pay-per-view buys. Not the million, but with ESPN now, this could be $1 million because ESPN has that platform. They have 5 channels. They got ESPN Plus. Mm-hmm. So they got that thing that's going to be out there and pushing it out. And what do you do, Lopez? You want to just keep poking the bear?
Yeah, no, you're doing business the wrong way and stuff. And look, I mean, in the summer, typically August August typically is like a vacation month for a lot of the boxing community and stuff like that. Though, so why? Because September comes up, right? And you got the Mexican Independence weekend on September. It's going to be Canelo's fighting that September, so you are stuck in between a rock and a hard place for your June, your July, because honestly, if you try to do something in August, you're not going to make any money there either. So you basically by burning you're not completely burned the bridge because you still got the contract with Arum and stuff, but you're lighting it up though.
Yeah,
and I don't know why you're doing that.
Yeah.
So my suggestion to you, the Teofimo fam, would be get this fight in with Triller, and once you're done, make nice until the contract's up, or buy it out.
Yeah,
right. Either buy out or make nice until the end of the contract.
That's why I brought the Floyd thing, because if you're gonna go this ham, I hope you got the money just to buy it out and don't this, because now I said that I brought this up because this parallels similar, but not from the attitude standpoint of Terence Crawford. He had his first pay-per-view several years ago, and it wasn't a mandatory. It was a unification fight. I believe it was against Victor Posto. So it was, this was leading up to him becoming the undisputed junior welterweight champion.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a 2-belt unification. It didn't even do 100,000 pay-per-view buys. I think it was around the 95,000 mark. And you know what happened after that? Terence Crawford has not even sniffed a pay-per-view until this Manny fight's being talked here. There's been talks of him going on pay-per-view since he can't sell. It's always been regular ESPN. So this is going to be his first pay-per-view, knowing the factors involved. And if it don't sell, you can't talk about pay-per-view unless you get another A side like Crawford's going to get Manny. What's going to happen? You need another A side. You're going to need Gervonta Davis for a pay-per-view. That's natural, but you're going to need that. You're not going to be able to fight any other guy on pay-per-view. You're going to need Ryan Garcia for a pay-per-view. He may not be the A side, but he's a side that's going to bring. Matter of fact, he would be an A side to agree, a 1A, 1B. Because the type of crowd he brings is different from Lopez. They're both in that same plane, 1A, 1B. I'm saying that he would need another A side. You can't fight everybody. You're not Floyd. You're not Manny. You're not a guy who can just go on pay-per-view. Exactly. You're not if Canelo was in the zone, he'd fight on pay-per-view.
The boxing landscape itself is the writings on the wall of the boxing landscape. I already told you. The zone's doing everything through streaming. ESPN's doing everything through streaming.
And pay-per-view.
And pay-per-view, but mostly streaming on ESPN. So most of the pay-per-view model outside of Showtime, HBO's out the game. Showtime is the only
one. ESPN too, because Bob Arum's been on the record though. He's saying that that's what ESPN Plus is for too as well.
Yeah,
it's huge. They know that there's certain fights that you just cannot do streaming because the numbers are too astronomical. So you're right, yes, but at the same time though, there's going to be fights where that it has to have the pay-per-view model. It's never going to go away.
Yeah,
Bob Arum's even said that too. Like I said, streaming for the zone, yes. ESPN is using both.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's a reason for that, because the pay-per-views were too expensive, and there weren't many quality fighters to put together to make pay-per-view fights.
Yeah.
It's still that case to this day, but with that said, you don't burn the bridge with a guy like Bob Arum because he's been doing it for so long, and even to the point where Floyd bought out the contract, and you still have to work with Bob Arum at some point down the road. Yeah,
I'm glad you brought that up, because as soon as Floyd bought the contract out, correct me if I'm wrong on history, I think he did the Gotti fight.
Yeah,
that was with Main Events, and after the Gotti fight, Bob Arum had called about fight night to the Margarito, which exactly. So like, even though that you're no longer working, like there's only so many players in the game. So even if you have a bad falling out, you're gonna work with them again. Like we said with Oscar De La Hoya, Oscar and Arum have been contentious for the last 3 decades. They still come back together because they know that it's business and there's not many players. So for Lopez, I don't get it. I'm just gonna say it. I know there's a little pause there. I don't get what you and your dad are doing. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. I understand you promoting yourself. The way you're doing it sucks.
So there's a better way to do it. And I'll be honest. I'll say it for Teofimo, and I'll say it for the other guys out there, the other younger fighters. Like, do it with a little bit more class. Just a little bit more class. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not saying change your whole personality. No, be who you are, but at the same time, just a little bit more class. And that involves you, your fam, your whoever's representing you, whoever's your mouthpiece, whoever's speaking for you. Just a little bit more class and have a little more sense of history and some respect out there. Okay. Yeah. Appreciate what's out there. And Bob Arum, whether you like him or not, he's history. He's royalty in the boxing world. He's history.
And no matter how you think about it, you might think he may got, I'm not trying to be, insensitive. He's about 89, 90 years old. You say he's working on borrowed time. If you're going to be an idiot, I know if you're going to be, it's like, he's going to die anytime soon, right? Top Rank is an establishment. ESPN did not get in the boxing business for no reason at all. ESPN was out of the boxing business for so long before HBO had the little thing they're falling out. And who jumped on the ESPN bandwagon? Arum jumped off HBO before that actually happened. And ESPN recognized, like, yo, we're spending all this money on these rights to football. You know, we make money, but what makes more money? Boxing rights make so much money, and we don't got to put too much into it. There's a reason why ESPN has poured millions into it and working with Bob Arum. Bob Arum and Top Rank is an institution. You can say all you will want, but I hope you got money to buy this bad boy out, or you're just selling you're selling yourself short right now. You know, there's so much. Here's the thing: there's ways to promote yourself. Why people I might get backlash on that. Why bite the hand that feeds you? It is a hand that feeds you because you got a contract.
Exactly.
If you do not buy his contract out, it's going to be a lot of, and here's the thing, Bob Arum did a whole bunch of characters in the past. You know, this ain't the first boxer that's been pissed off at him, you know, but you got to come back after this fight. You got to come back home. You know what I'm saying? You can curse out your mom. It's like, Dad, I don't remember you kids like, oh, I don't want to live here. I'm going to run away, blah, blah, blah. And then you get outside, you know, you realize, I got to go back home and get some more things.
Yep.
No. What am I going to do? Yo, man, Daddy's right there waiting for you. The house always wins. That's why that's my point. The house always, you can get a win. The house is going to get you back in and get that money back and then get you into that where you're in the hole.
I mean, most of the fighters that speak a little bit more soft-spoken on this stuff with Top Rank and Bob Arum and stuff, the great thing happens with this. You got a guy like Miguel Cotto, he wins. He says, yeah, we'll look into it. We'll talk with our promoter. Let the promoter handle your business.
Well, not even that point. I actually didn't say talking about promoter. They're just being egregious. There's a difference. There's a difference. We're saying if someone asks you a question, and Cotto says, you know, we've seen that a lot of fighters in the ring. It's like when it's like, who you want to fight next? You know, I'm just a fighter. My promoter gets these fights done. You know, you talk to Bob Arum, and then we'll go from there. That's one thing. Someone asks you a question. It's another thing when you're volunteering. We're leaving. We're going on pay-per-view. F Top Rank. They can't do nothing for us anymore. We're the takeover. Believe in yourself. Now, you can believe in yourself. This ain't the takeover when you were locked in the contract and then Bob Arum just basically said, I'm being petty. June 5th, you know what, though? I even made $800,000 off of you doing this here, and I'm going to push your ass back.
Exactly.
People may not see it that way, but that's how I saw it when I hit you up. I'm like, people ain't talking about this here, but Arum took June 5th away from Lopez, and now it's going to push you down. Keep talking mess. You may not even fight till August. And then this might be your last fight for the year.
Yeah, no point in being a line stepper, right? Don't be a habitual line stepper. Quote Charlie Murphy, my friend.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Never be a line stepper in that case. Follow the contract, be done with it after that.
I wanted to bring that up because shout out to the Lopez family. I mean, you're doing good stuff. You're a good young fighter. I'm happy you're in the sport, doing your thing. You know, you get this mandatory out the way. Hopefully we'll see you against a Devin Haney or Javante Tank Davis or Ryan Garcia, one of those three guys, or even all three of those guys in the next year and a half, 2 years. I hope I see that. But as a fight fan, I'm telling you guys, y'all going about it the wrong way, and y'all need to figure this out because y'all gonna be buried on regular ESPN. You're gonna get paid, but you're not gonna be looking at. You're gonna get a humble pie the way you're going here. And now, if you was like Terence Crawford and this is your last fight in October. Oh, I can see why you're talking to you. You're getting it out there to the highest bidder. Yo, holla this, baby. We moving on. But man, you only 23. You know your contract's locked, sealed, and delivered. Yep. That's what I want to talk about. You know, like, yo, Bob Arum just said, hey, June 5th is mine now. Shut up. Sit down.
Humble pie.
Humble pie, man.
Delicious humble pie. Enjoy it, folks.
Yo, we know that we're gonna stop this one here, man. We got other stuff to talk to. We're gonna drop another episode this week here. So we'll end off here, man. So let's just do it here. Let's click like, subscribe, hit the bell notification for YouTube, people. Yeah, that's right. Like and subscribe. Oh, before I forget too, we have 15 new subscribers this week. Man, y'all is loving the stuff, man. So shout out to the new subscribers. We got more heat coming for you. Same thing too as well. Apple and Spotify and all podcasts, check it out as well. And also I'm putting on the screen here as well, you know, Spangler Sports World, channel 250 on the Zingo app, 250. Shout out to our main man, Eduardo, man. Doing good things over there, man. Shout you out. I need to check out the show. If you hear this, hey, man, what's going on?
So I want to say thank you to the support out there, the new subscribers. Much appreciated. I'm glad you're liking our stuff. Like Dave said, hit the like or dislike. But also, if you're
no, I don't want no dislikes. Nah,
if you send us a dislike, look, I appreciate I like feedback.
No,
right? So if
give
you
me-
hit this, like, tell me why you dislike it, because I want to know why. I
Nah,
want to know.
here's what I say. You could be on the show and tell me why you're a hater, but like I said, like and subscribe and give us 5 stars. You're a 4 stars. I think you're a hater.
If it's 4.5 and there's a reason why it's 4.5 and you haven't dislike a particular episode, tell me why though. Tell us why, and we'll like to talk about it with you on the comment section, or like what Dave mentioned right there. Want to have a call with us? We can get something live going. Just give us a reason why, and contact us through the channel as well. With that said as well, my live domino stream is on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on Twitch. It's at 8 p.m. Central. We will be live tonight. This is a Wednesday recording, so we'll be live tonight at PO Lounge, 3456 North Pulaski in Chicago. So if you're in the Chicago area, do hit us up over there. The stream starts at 8 o'clock. We can get there as early as 6. Grab some drinks, grab some food, and if you're a good domino player, just join in the game and have some fun with us there. And so right now the schedule, there's nothing on the schedule currently on the Twitch channel. I'm going to update that because I was on vacation. So I do apologize for not getting the stream last Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. We'll hit it up first this week.
Okay, Jorge. So thanks for that information. Also, too, you can check me out on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Central Time. Jump Off Live on YouTube. Jump Off Live Wednesdays, 8 p.m. As well as that, if you want to check that out on the audio formats, we're on all podcasts, Spotify, Apple as well. So on that note, we're going to close this episode out. We have another episode coming this week as well. We're going to talk about Lil Tyson and Oscar De La Hoya too. Man, it's a lot of news we just couldn't cover in this episode. So we're going to close out here. So for Jorge, a.k.a. Papo, I am that dude named Dave, a.k.a. DJ. This is for Boxing Now, and we're out of here. Peace, family.
Stay safe, folks.